Jackie Cruz, CEO of Air Cruise, is seated at an upscale restaurant with an important business associate named Larry. To anyone watching, it looks unmistakably like a date. The setting is elegant and intimate, but for Jackie, it's strictly business. Larry certainly thinks otherwise. He's recently and legally single, and Jackie is single too. So in his mind, the math checks out. Jackie clears that up quickly and steers the conversation back to work. But the evening derails the moment she mentions Dallas. The word alone is enough to send Larry spiraling. His ex-wife loved that city, and within minutes he's crying openly at the table, telling Jackie things about his marriage she never asked to hear, how much he still misses her, how empty the house feels now. Jackie decides she's heard enough and gets up to leave immediately. Meanwhile, Daniel Blanchflower, a lawyer at the same company, is on a date of his own with a woman named Tanya. It starts well enough. Champagne, easy conversation, some talk about Daniel's job at Air Cruise, but Tanya keeps drinking, and by the time dessert should be arriving, she's fully drunk and determined to dance. She grabs Daniel's arm and insists, and though he tries to talk her down, telling her she's had too much and he'll take her home, she's already up and dancing in the middle of the restaurant, drawing stares from every table. Her feet give out mid-spin, she stumbles into a table and hurts herself badly enough that Daniel has to apologize to the entire room on her behalf. He walks her home afterward. Still drunk, she invites him in and leans in to kiss him goodnight. He pulls back by this point. Her behavior has curdled from charming into something closer to unsettling and leaves her at the door. Outside the restaurant, Larry catches up to Jackie just as she's climbing into her car to apologize for the scene he made. She isn't interested in hearing it. She tells him, not unkindly, but firmly, that he'd be better off spending his energy on someone who actually wants to hear from him, maybe even his ex-wife, and drives off, leaving him standing on the curb. The next morning, both Jackie and Daniel arrive at the Air Cruise office building, entering separately and taking different elevators up. As Daniel makes his way to his desk, he hands off a completed file to a colleague to pass along to Mr. Vance, the company's veteran chief legal officer. The colleague warns him to take his time. Vance won't tolerate mistakes. Daniel insists, a little too confidently, that there aren't any. On his way in, he's intercepted by Claire, who immediately launches into a detailed account of a rash behind her knees. Uninterested in the specifics and eager to escape, Daniel tells her that the next time he asks how she's doing, "All right," is a perfectly acceptable answer. Jackie, meanwhile, stops by Sydney's office. Sydney is her heavily pregnant assistant who is very close to her due date. Jackie recounts the disaster of a dinner with Larry. Not only did he hit on her under the mistaken impression it was a date, he also broke down crying about his ex-wife in the middle of the restaurant. She wonders aloud who's been telling people around town that she's single. Sydney, without missing a beat, tells her that at this point everyone knows. Jackie's mind quickly jumps to something more pressing, the looming Falcon Airlines lawsuit, and Sydney assures her that Vance has it under control. Outside the building, Vance is eating breakfast, a burrito, while simultaneously on a heated phone call with someone named Gunderson. He loses his temper mid-bite, starts shouting into the phone and chokes on his food as he collapses with food lodged in his throat. The news throws the legal team into chaos. Daniel, hearing the commotion, jokes about who even eats a burrito for breakfast before asking if Vance is okay. Sydney arrives moments later with the update. Vance is stable, but he's got a tube down his throat and won't be handling anything for a while. More urgently, she tells Daniel he's being handed the Falcon Airlines deposition, effective immediately, and needs to be in Jackie's office in 5 minutes. As she walks off, Daniel's co-workers crowd around to offer a rapid-fire list of survival tips for dealing with Jackie. Don't talk too much. Don't breathe too loudly. She apparently hates the sound of it, and if he absolutely has to breathe, he should try to do it quietly through the side of his mouth. By the time Daniel steps into Jackie's office, his confidence has completely evaporated. He's struck, genuinely starstruck, by how attractive she is, and the professional greeting he'd rehearsed comes out as an awkward, followed by an unprompted compliment about her shoes. Jackie, unimpressed, double-checks with Sydney that this really is the new lawyer assigned to the case. She asks whether the deposition can be pushed back given the chaos of the morning. Sydney shuts that down immediately. Postponing now would make it look like the company has something to hide. Despite his shaky start, Daniel insists he's more than capable and asks Jackie for a real chance to prove it. At the deposition, Jackie and Daniel sit across from Bill, the owner of Falcon Airlines, and his lawyer. The opposing counsel wastes no time accusing Jackie of having slept with or bribed the chairman of the Dallas-Fort Worth board in order to secure a major deal, pressing her on whether she and the chairman went back to a hotel together afterward. Jackie, visibly rattled and irritated, pulls Daniel aside and demands to know if he's planning to actually say anything at all, since Vance would have shut this down by now. Daniel calmly tells her to trust him and heads back into the room. He turns the tables on Bill and points out with quiet precision just how much intimate detail he seems to know about Jackie's evening with the chairman. right down to what the two of them ate for dinner. He asks how Bill could possibly know all of that. Bill, caught off guard, admits the information came from an interested party, eventually named as Paul Huntingford, the chairman's own personal assistant. Daniel doesn't let up. He asks Bill point blank whether he paid Paul for the information or slept with him for it. The opposing side is left speechless, gathers their things, and leaves the room without another word. Back in her office afterward, Jackie calls Daniel in to thank him properly, admitting she underestimated him. He jokes that she'd be surprised how many high-powered lawyers apparently choke on their breakfast, grateful, and, for the first time, a little charmed. She offers him a handshake to close things out. As soon as their hands meet, Jackie notices something impossible to miss. Daniel is visibly aroused, horrified and mortified in equal measure. He stammers an apology and bolts from the office, cursing himself the entire way down the hall. Alone, Jackie can't help but laugh about it, and later that night finds herself thinking about him with a smile. The next day, Daniel comes into the office in a noticeably sour mood, refusing to explain to Claire why. It's personal, he insists, and leaves it at that. She tells him Jackie has asked to see him. In her office, Jackie explains that with Vance hospitalized, she needs Daniel to temporarily take over running the legal department. He agrees without hesitation. Just as he's about to leave, she stops him and asks Sydney to step out, saying she needs to speak to him privately. Once the door closes, she tells him plainly that what happened with the handshake was ridiculous and that they should simply agree to forget it ever happened. The conversation drifts somewhat awkwardly toward her father, Captain Jack Cruz, before the two of them fumble through a stiff goodbye and agree to reconnect Monday for work. Outside, Sydney watches Daniel leave with a look that suggests she's already starting to suspect something. Over the weekend, Daniel visits his sister, Lizzie, who's serving time in prison for killing her boyfriend. He's spent years trying unsuccessfully to find a way to get her released without success, but he's not giving up. Lizzie, tired of being treated like something fragile, tells him he doesn't need to keep babysitting her and should focus on building a life of his own. She notices something shift in his expression and immediately calls it. He likes someone. After some prodding, Daniel admits it's his boss, but insists nothing can happen. As her attorney, dating her would violate professional ethics severely enough to get him disbarred, which would cost him his visa, and he can't afford to leave the country without his sister still inside. Back at the office, Jackie nearly slips and tells Sydney about the moment with Daniel, catching herself mid-sentence and changing the subject entirely, leaving Sydney more curious than ever and more convinced something happened. Vance returns to the office not long after, still recovering, arriving somewhat comically in a golf cart, but with no intention of stepping back from the Falcon Airlines case. He tells Daniel to back off, dismissing him as a little puppy now that the big dog is back, and even makes a mocking barking noise on his way out. Determined to end the lawsuit outright, Vance drafts a massive 200-page motion for summary judgment. Sydney brings it to Jackie, who calls Daniel in for his read. His verdict is blunt. Filing this would be a serious mistake. When Jackie and Daniel bring the concern directly to Vance, he refuses to budge, insisting he'll win the case his way or resign, and clearly expects Jackie to back down. Instead, Jackie calls an emergency board meeting. The board turns on her almost immediately, arguing she's undermining a lawyer who's given the company years of loyal service in favor of someone unproven, and several members go so far as to question whether she's still fit to lead. In the middle of the tension, her father, Captain Jack Cruz, walks in, just as the board escalates its attack on her judgment. That's when Daniel stands and speaks up in her defense, telling the room he's more than qualified for the responsibility, and reminding every person at that table that Jackie's decisions have made all of them a great deal of money. She's earned their trust and deserves to keep it until she actually gives them a real reason not to. Sydney backs him immediately, and to Jackie's relief, her father does too. The board relents, and Daniel officially takes over the Falcon Airlines case. In the weeks that follow, Daniel and Jackie grow noticeably closer, their working relationship shifting into something warmer, trading looks and inside jokes in meetings, at one point turning a status update into a silent game of who can make the more ridiculous face without anyone else noticing. Almost nobody does, except Sydney, who's been paying close attention and starts clocking how often the two of them somehow leave meetings at exactly the same time. At an office birthday celebration, Daniel makes an offhand comment using a term that's affectionate slang, where he's from but lands very differently in the room. The silence that follows tells him immediately something's gone wrong, and the incident finds its way to HR before the cake is even finished. In his meeting with the HR representative, Daniel explains the cultural context and insists no offense was intended. The coworker in question wasn't even particularly bothered. Before the meeting wraps, Daniel asks about the company's zero-tolerance, no-dating policy, calling it more than a little unrealistic given that everyone in the building is a consenting adult. HR shuts the question down without much thought. On his way out, he passes Jackie in the hallway. Later that same day, entirely separately, she walks into HR and asks the exact same question, catching the HR director completely off guard by how closely it echoes Daniel's. At a meeting soon after, Sydney tells Jackie about a new lawsuit, a passenger suing the airline, with a judge requesting that Jackie personally travel to the Dominican Republic to hear the plaintiff out. She initially resists until Sydney mentions the location, at which point she agrees without hesitation. When the team debates who from legal should accompany her, most people assume it'll be Rachel. Instead, after a somewhat chaotic back and forth, Jackie decides Daniel will be the one to go. They fly out on Jackie's own plane, and Daniel is horrified to discover Jackie herself is piloting. His fear only deepens once they hit turbulent weather mid-flight, gripping his seat like it might slip away from him. But Jackie talks him through it, and by the time they land, something between them has clearly shifted. He's fallen for her a little more, whether he admits it yet or not. On the ground, they meet with the plaintiff to hear out his side of the case, though both are more visibly distracted by their own chemistry than by the legal details in front of them. That evening, Jackie invites Daniel to dinner. What starts as a light, easy conversation over food turns into several drinks, and eventually Jackie asks him to dance. He's hesitant at first, standing stiffly on the floor until she coaxes him into moving with her. He finally pulls her close and kisses her, and the two make their way back to her room together, their night together going well beyond a simple kiss. The next morning, a hotel staff member knocks repeatedly before entering with breakfast, catching them together without any pretense left to maintain. Instead of reacting awkwardly, she simply smiles. "You two look good together," and leaves far less surprised than either of them had hoped. Over coffee, they agree it's best to pretend the night never happened and go back to acting like colleagues. On their way back from the trip, they were seen being intimate in the plane mid-flight. Back at the office, they try and largely fail to keep things strictly professional. Jackie ends up slipping Daniel a dinner invitation hidden inside a sticky note tucked into a contract file. Sydney, noticing Jackie coming out of the legal department for what feels like the 10th time that week, presses her about what's really going on, pointing out she's been acting strange ever since the Dominican Republic trip. Jackie brushes her off, but the suspicion only grows. That night, at Jackie's house, Daniel discovers an entire room dedicated to British memorabilia. Flags, portraits, the works. Jackie insists it's all just a joke, until Daniel reappears dressed head to toe as a royal guard, delighting her completely. The two agree in that moment to finally make things official, while keeping it entirely secret from the company, given the policy still technically in place. On a date at the beach, Jackie asks Daniel what his plans are for the next day. He's evasive, saying only that he has something personal to take care of. Her curiosity gets the better of her, and she quietly follows him right to the front gate of a prison. Once Daniel goes inside, she goes in too, and after some questioning, learns that his sister is being held there. She visits Elizabeth herself, and the two talk. Elizabeth, having clearly heard plenty about Jackie from her brother, warns her to treat him well. On her way out, Jackie runs straight into Daniel, who is furious to discover she followed him. She argues that after everything between them, he should have trusted her enough to tell her the truth himself. Neither is willing to back down, and what starts as an argument about the prison visit turns into their first real fight as a couple, and they part on bad terms. They barely have time to recover before being forced to appear together at a press conference. A reporter, digging for a headline, asks Jackie directly how she responds to speculation that she slept with the Falcon Airlines chairman to secure the deal. Still shaken from the fight with Daniel and caught completely off guard, she blurts into the microphone that she will never sleep with a colleague, a client, an employee, or a lawyer, and immediately realizes how that sounds in front of a room full of cameras. Daniel steps in quickly, praising her integrity, and manages to turn the moment around. The room even applauds, but the damage lingers privately. Shaken by how close the relationship came to blowing up in public, Jackie decides and Daniel ultimately agrees that what they have isn't worth the risk of bringing the entire company down with it, so they break up. The office grows quietly, noticeably colder in the weeks that follow. Nothing dramatic, just distance. Most employees don't notice, but Sydney, who's been watching the two of them for months, absolutely does. Late one night, she finally corners Daniel in his office and asks him directly whether he and Jackie slept together. He denies it, hesitates, denies it again, and before the conversation can go any further, her water breaks. Chaos follows immediately. There's no time to get her to a hospital, so Daniel, panicking, clears off a table and prepares to help deliver the baby himself. Jackie rushes in moments later to help. In the middle of a contraction, Sydney flatly refuses to push another inch until the two of them finally admit the truth about their relationship. Cornered, exhausted, and out of options, they both admit it, and Sydney delivers a healthy baby girl right there in the office. Despite everyone insisting she take real time off to recover, Sydney is back at her desk almost immediately, refusing to stay home and nurse her baby. Sometime later, Jackie tells Sydney and Daniel that Bill Button, the rival executive circling an acquisition of the airline, has invited her to a private meeting, possibly to admit defeat, possibly to make an offer to buy the company outright. They encourage her to go. At the meeting, Bill reveals his real intentions. He wants Jackie to release the airline's gates in Dallas so he can move forward with acquiring them. When she refuses, telling him the lawsuit against her won't work, he reveals he already knew that, which is why he had a backup plan all along. He introduces Julie Schatz, a private investigator who has been quietly following Jackie for months. It turns out the hotel housekeeper from the Dominican Republic trip was working for Bill the entire time. Julie hands over an envelope of photographs showing Jackie and Daniel together, apologizing as she does so, though she can't help adding that the two of them really do look good together. Jackie opens the envelope and finds exactly what she feared: photos of her and Daniel in romantic poses. With those photos, she understands exactly what kind of leverage Bill now has. Shaken, Jackie seeks out Peter Vance, who's since left the company and now runs a burrito food truck. He tells her, simply and without judgment, to listen to the voice inside herself. It took him 40 years to finally learn how. Back at the workplace, Daniel walks into Jackie's office and hands her his letter of resignation. With the photos now hanging over both of them, he tells her he can't continue representing her. He's already lined up a position at a firm in Manhattan and will be leaving. As he turns to go, he stops and tells her, with real conviction, that she's an exceptional CEO and that he doesn't understand why she still lets one man control her. Not Bill, he clarifies, but her father. The comment lands hard. Furious and hurt, Jackie tells Sydney she's decided to resign as CEO altogether, thanking her for everything along the way. Sydney, in turn, storms over to Daniel's office and confronts him, demanding to know why he's letting Jackie face this entirely on her own. Jackie has a heated, long overdue confrontation with her father, telling him he's never once acknowledged everything she's sacrificed and built for this company. She walks away from him mid-argument. At his new firm, Daniel finds himself zoning out mid-meeting. The sight of a plane passing outside the window is enough to trigger something in him. He quits on the spot, rushes out to find Jackie, and fighting traffic the entire way there. He arrives just as Jackie is stepping up to the podium to announce her resignation to a room full of press and executives. He bursts in, interrupting her mid-sentence, and announces to the entire room that the two of them slept together, instantly stripping away whatever leverage Bill thought he still had. He tells her not to quit, that she's brilliant at what she does, and finally, in front of everyone, including the press and co-workers, tells her that he loves her. Her father stands and publicly backs Daniel, telling the room that Jackie is the reason this company works, and that if she walks away, he's walking away too. With that support behind her, Jackie changes course entirely. She announces she is not stepping down after all, reminding the room that her name is on the side of every plane in the fleet, a design she first sketched in crayon at 12 years old. She declares the company will move forward with expanding its gates into Dallas, adding that anyone unhappy about it should go ahead and lawyer up. With that, she steps off the podium and walks straight to Daniel. She warns him she could still lose everything: her job, her company, all of it. He tells her he won't let her fall out of the sky. They kiss as the room erupts into applause. In the aftermath, the company formally does away with its zero-tolerance dating policy, and Jackie and Daniel are finally, openly, together for good as well as other co-workers.